A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. I seek refuge with Allah from shaitan the stoned. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. With the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings and mercy of Allah to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. The topic is what Al-Quran says about jihad. This word jihad is not translated into the languages of the people. It's an Arabic word, but people do not translate. Jihad means to strive or to struggle. But generally it has been promoted by the media as holy war, the war. So I will like to give you the meaning of the war. English word war, in Arabic it means harab. Harab. Harab means war. Jihad means to strive, to struggle. Irhab means terrorism. And qatl means to kill. Irhab means terrorism. Harab means war. Qatl means to kill. And the topic today is jihad, which means to strive and struggle. So ladies and gentlemen, before we discuss the ayats as to what Quran has said about jihad in the ayats of Allah, I would like to tell you that all of us, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, are doing jihad. Meaning they are struggling, they are striving. But what are they striving for? They will explain to you. If you ask them, what is your mission in life? What is the most important factor in your life? Or what is your aim in life? If a student of any theology wants to become something, he joins universities or schools, he wants to become an architect or engineer or doctor. So he struggles for that. He strives for that. So in other words, he does jihad to become a doctor. Jihad, he struggles to become a doctor. That means he is doing jihad. He struggles or strive to become an engineer, that is jihad. He does jihad to become an engineer. You must know the meaning. In Arabic, people use these words. The Christians, Arabic speaking people use this word jihad. The Jews, Arabic speaking people use the word jihad in their language. It's an Arabic word. So it is not only related to the Muslim community, the word jihad. The people who are striving for anything, they are doing jihad for that thing. Now, if the Muslim, most of the Muslims, well, all the majority of the Muslims must be doing something in their lives. Meaning they must be having some aim in life or careers in life, and for that they are working. They are doing jihad for that. But that jihad is not as Quran or Allah says in the ayats. That is allowed. That's not forbidden for you not to do that. You can do that. But in the governing ayats, you have to control and see, am I not doing wrong or right? So what Quran says or what Allah says to do jihad, that is our lecture. When we refer this word to Allah and the Islam, then we have to see how Allah says that you have to struggle for what? Or you have to strive for what? So being a Muslim, Muslim is another Arabic word. Muslim means submitter. I submit to Allah. So I am Muslim to Allah, submitter to Allah. Muslim means submitter. So if I submit to what? So whatever I submit, I am a Muslim to that. Like jihad, if I do jihad to become a doctor, I am doing struggling or striving for doctor. Similarly, Muslim means to submit. A person who submits, if he submits to attain the good pleasures of Allah, so he is a Muslim submitter for Allah. For Allah. So he is a submitter, Muslim for Allah. So in that concept, Allah has mentioned in the I will be reading the ayahs that a person in this world should live in peace. And that word in Arabic is salam. And the word Islam is come from the root letter salama, which means to attain peace. I said salamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Islam means to attain peace. So if all the people in the world would like to live in peace, but to live in peace, there are certain rules and regulations laid down by Allah in the ayahs, that if you follow these ayahs, then you can attain Islam. You can have peace. You can attain peace. You can have Islam. You can attain peace. So first of all, you have to submit, meaning Muslim, Aslim. You have to become a Muslim, or you have to submit to what? To the governing ayats, to the muhkamat ayat, governing ayats, signs. First I submit to the governing ayats, and what I will attain? Islam, or to attain peace. I will have peace in my mind. I will have peace. For that, if I work or I struggle or I strive to follow those governing ayahs, that is jihad in Allah or in the ayats. This is how the lecture you have to understand. The purpose of every human being in the world is that he wants to live in peace. That is to attain Islam, or attain peace is Islam. Every human being. And in the Quran, it is mentioned on the day of judgment, after we die, there is an accountability day. We have to give our accounts, and on that day we have to enter into garden, Jannah. So a Muslim keeps in his mind all the time that after I die, I must go and enter into Jannah, or attain good pleasures of Allah. But to attain that, to achieve that, I have to do jihad. I have to do strive. I have to struggle by the governing ayahs, or by the do's and the don'ts, as mentioned in the Quranic ayahs. There are certain rules you have to follow and obey, as Allah says in the ayahs. And there are certain don'ts, as he mentioned the ayahs, in his governing ayahs, or in his muhkamat ayahs. Why I am doing it? I am struggling and struggling and striving to attain Jannah, the garden, on the day of judgment. That is, I have to do. I have to struggle and strive. That I have to do jihad. But in this world, what I will get? I will get peace in the world. In this world, I will have peace of mind and heart. But on the other side, I will attain, I will get good pleasures of Allah and the Jannah, that is garden. So keep in our minds that we Muslims, do jihad. Every Muslim does jihad or strive because his object is to enter garden. That is his aim and goal. On the day of judgment, I must enter into garden. I must be, God, Allah should be pleased by me, my actions. My actions should be governed by the ayats, not by my own vain desires. They should be governed by the Allah's ayats, the muhkamat ayat, the do's and the don'ts. So this is how the lecture will go on. So remember, I will recite the ayahs about the word jihad, to strive and struggle, and we'll see how the Quran explains. But you must keep in your mind that there are certain do's and don'ts in the Quran. There are many ayahs that are referring for the do's and the don'ts. But I have just to give you a sample or an example on the first page. If you will note, I will read certain, these are not complete ayahs, just to explain to you what are the do's and what are the don'ts. When I'm using the word do's, there are certain things or actions we have to do, and there are certain actions that we should forbid or we do not do. For example, in the first page, Surah Al-Isra, 17 Surah and ayah 78 ayah, the reference is that we have to establish the salah, the prayer. This is one do, that we have to establish the salah. Mention this ayah. This is a big ayah, but I'm just pointing out the order that we have to establish the salah. Al-Baqarah 2 and ayah 185, it mentions in that complete ayah that we have to fast. That's a do, order to fulfill. Al-Baqarah 2 196 ayah, to perform pilgrimage, who have got the means. So a person who has got the means to visit to Mecca, Saudi for pilgrimage, he has to do that. In Al-Mujadala 58:12, to give sadaqah, charity. These are the do's. I am reading those points which you have to understand. These are the do's of the Quranic ayahs, the governing ayahs. Surah Al-Hajj 22, ayah 78, you have to struggle, strive for Allah, jihad in Allah. Surah Al-Nisa 4:3, you have to marry. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the requirement as per your situation. This is an order by Allah that you have to marry. 1 or 2 or 3, whatever the condition, but you have to marry. This is an order. Then Al-Baqarah 2 to 29, the order of divorce is given. People say that Allah does not like divorce. No, Allah simply says that if this is not the lecture or a topic of divorce, a believer and non-believer cannot live together. A khabis and a tayyib, a good and a bad, cannot live together. According to Allah's ayahs, Allah divorces women from men or from men, women, if they are not if one of the persons is not believer. He separates them. Very simply, in the eyes of Allah. So that's an order that you divorce the wives if they are not practicing believing women. So that's a separate topic. But I'm just telling you that it is an order of Allah that you divorce your wives. Then Al-Nisa 4 and ayah 11, there is a whole inheritance law is given, that this is the amount of money that has to be distributed to among his sons and children. That is also a do. You have to make sure that they should be distributed according to the order or the governing ayahs of Allah when you go from this world. Surah Al-Isra 7, 23 and 24, that the children should be good to the parents. Children-parent relationship, that the children should be good to their parents. This is a commandment that we should follow. Al-Baqarah 2, 172, eat lawful food. Eat good and lawful food. It is the whole description is mentioned, the ayahs, what is a lawful food? The anam, the cattle. So now if you look at the other side, the don'ts are mentioned. They are not only the do's, there are many do's in the governing ayahs of Allah. I'm just trying to explain or emphasize the point that there are do's and don'ts in the ayahs. By virtue, you have to struggle and do jihad to achieve Islam, salam, peace in this world, and garden on the other side, and good pleasures of Allah. What is the don't? Surah Al-Nisa 4 and ayah 29. Do not eat wealth with falsehood. Do not eat your wealth by falsehood, by cheating, by forgery. Al-Hujurat 49:12. No suspicion is allowed in Islam. You cannot, suspicion is not allowed. At times, suspicion or to conject is a sin. No backbiting is allowed. No backbiting. In Al-Hujurat 49:11 ayat, sarcasm, bad name, no sarcasm to people, no bad names to people, no nicknames to be given. Al-Ma'idah 5 and verse 38, ayah 38, no theft, no robbery. Now these are the no, you have to not to do that, not to do this, not to do this. Al-Ma'idah, Al-Isra 17 and ayah 31, not to kill children due to poverty. Al-Isra 17 surah 33 ayat, suicide, not to kill himself. You see the suicide bombing, you cannot kill yourself. This is don'ts of the ayahs of Allah. Don'ts, do, not to do, not to do. Don'ts, you have to fulfill that. Al-Ma'idah 5:93, no drugs, no drinkings, no gambling. Al-Ma'idah 5:3, not to eat the pork. There are unlawful food mentioned, not to drink blood, not to eat the pork, not to eat the food which other than name of Allah is being taken. Al-Nur 24 surah verse 19, pornography, fahisha, exposed or hidden, not allowed. Surah Al-Araf 7 ayah 33, no adultery, no homosexuality, no lesbianism, etc. So there are many don'ts and there are many do's. We Muslims, we have to do jihad, we have to strive and struggle in following the do's. Not only this, I have given you these as examples. You have to make sure that I practice these which are mentioned that I have to do, and I have to forbid from the ones that are don'ts. I forbid myself from those which are mentioned that I do not have to do that. That when I will do this, that is the struggle, that is the strive that I am doing to achieve what? Peace in this world. Peace in this world. And on the day of judgment, that Allah is pleased with me and get the garden. That is the aim of a Muslim, submitter to Allah. So now we will see what are those ayahs in the Quran that describes the word jihad. The first page referring to Ali Imran 3 and ayah 19. Inna ad-dina 'inda Allahi al-Islam wa ma ikhtalafa alladhina utul kitab illa min ba'di ma ja'ahum al-'ilmu baghyan bainahum wa man yakfur bi ayati Allah fa inna Allah sari'ul hisab. Surely ad-din, the judgment in the nearness of Allah, is al-Islam, to attain peace. And those who are given al-Kitab, the book, did not differ except to wrong each other after the knowledge came to them. And whosoever rejects with ayahs, signs of Allah, then surely Allah is quick in taking the account. In this ayah, the first phrase, Inna dina inda Allahi al-Islam, surely the judgment in the nearness of Allah is al-Islam, to attain peace. So Allah has laid down the principle or the foundation or the judgment. He has given His judgment, and His judgment is that people should attain peace in this life, and that is Islam. Inna dina inda Allah Islam. Surely the judgment in the nearness of Allah is Islam, to attain peace. So all the ayahs in the Quranic ayahs are judgments by Allah. That Allah has laid down the judgments in the ayahs that you can judge and analyze, and the conclusion you will come to know that this is right and good for mankind. Any do's or command governing ayahs, it is good for mankind. And whatever is mentioned not to do is good for mankind. These are the judgments laid down in the ayahs, and if you will practice them, you will attain peace, Islam. وَمَا اخْتَلَفَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْعِلْمُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ. And those who are given the book did not differ except to wrong each other after the knowledge came to them. Now you will see this kind of behavior in the world, that you see the Quran is being sent down as a guidance for mankind. A person can take guidance for mankind, but normally people are hungry for knowledge. For knowledge, not guiding themselves. They say so, but they really don't mean it. But what happened when they get the knowledge? Whenever they get the knowledge, they don't guide their lives. They just point fingers at others. So they did not differ among themselves. After the knowledge came to them, they did not differ in the book, they did not differ in the book, that the book is right. But they start saying that you are wrong, you are wrong. So remember, people, you see, a person who does not have any knowledge of anything, he cannot speak. But once the knowledge is given, imparted with him or given to him, the Quran expects you to guide yourself, not to point others that they are wrong. This is going on. That is why you see so many schools of thoughts, that people are trying to say that no, that you don't get the correct understanding of the Quran. I have got the correct understanding, or the hadith and the sunnah and the practice, that you are wrong, these guys is wrong, that the other guy. So they are pointing fingers to each other. After the knowledge came to them, they are not governing their lives. The struggler or the person who is doing jihad is trying to control his own soul, his own self. So this Allah is educating us that people, وَمَا اخْتَلَفَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, they did not differ to those who were given the book. إِلَّا مِنْ بَعْدِ جَاءَهُمُ الْعِلْمُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ, except when came to them the knowledge, ilm. إِلَّا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْعِلْمُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ. After the knowledge came to them, they differ, and by saying wrong to each other, that you are wrong. So people start, if I got the knowledge, if I start saying that you are wrong, you are wrong, you are wrong. So if you don't have knowledge, you will be, so to say, impressed by me. This man has got big amount, he's got a knowledgeable man, he's a knowledgeable man. This kind of attitude is with people because of their egos. So Allah is exposing us. So, but what exactly you are doing? So further he says, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ, whoever rejects with the eyes of Allah, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَرِيعُ الْحِسَابِ, surely Allah will quick in taking the account. Meaning that after the knowledge came to them, I started governing myself. If I start pointing to others and did not amend, that means I am rejecting. I am rejecting the ayat if I am just saying it to others. If I am quoting to others, I am rejecting basically. Allah says, whoever rejects with the eyes of Allah, surely Allah is quick in taking the account. So ladies and gentlemen, remember, whenever the ayat is unveiled to you, revealed to you, the understanding that has come to you, you must check yourself. You may educate others, that's all right. But not keeping the mind that I have to point him low, put him down. Because this is not you. This is not your concepts. This is Allah. These are Allah's ayats. So Allah is there. So He will be quiet because He doesn't know. But remember, that same ayat is against you if you don't practice. So you are basically rejecting the ayats. Maybe you are quoting to someone. But exactly you are rejecting if you do not practice. So Allah says, whoever rejects the ayats, so Allah is surely is going to take a quick account. Now, in this, basically in this ayat, the main point was Allah has said that the judgment He has laid down in the ayahs is to attain peace. That is Islam. That is the main point. The other is also mentioned the behavior of the people. Now what He says to the believers, how we do jihad. In Surah Al-Ma'idah 5 and Ayah 35. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqullah wabtaghu ilayhi al-wasilata wajahidu fi sabilihi la'allakum tuflihun. O you believe, take guard of Allah and seek the wasila, means towards Him. Wasila means towards Him. And jahidu, and you strive in His way so that you may prosper. Now Allah is addressing to the believers.